Hello, my name's Helen Stewart and I'm the host of the Curious Handmade audio podcast. Today I'm coming to you from my home in London in the UK, and this video podcast is about my crafting and creative pursuits, and it's mostly about knitting. So thanks so much for joining me, watching along. I am pretty new to video podcasting. I've only done one episode before this, and I wanted to do a little series on some events I've been to recently. So today I'm going to be talking about my trip up to Scotland for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and a little bit about a project I'm working on at the moment as well. Just before I get into that, I'll tell you a little bit about this shawl that I'm wearing. It's called the Botan shawl, and it's from Glamorous magazine, which is a bilingual Japanese and English knitting magazine based out of Japan in Kyoto. So I started working on this design last summer, and it was just recently published in issue 10, which is the spring-summer 2016 issue of Glamorous. You can see they've probably for the last 3 or 4 issues, they have been doing a printed version of the magazine, maybe more. But they started out doing just an electronic publication, and now it's print, which I really love. Because their photography is gorgeous and the paper and production is beautiful, so I do love paper magazines. And so, yeah, I was really honoured to have a design published in this magazine. It's Botan means peony in English, and so when I was writing the pattern, the editors at Glamorous said that I could give it a name myself, or they could find a nice Japanese name for the pattern. So I said, well, that sounds fun, and I didn't know what they were going to call it, and they ended up calling it Botan, which is peony in English, which is one of my favorite flowers. So that was really fun, and I really liked that because I absolutely love peonies, and it's peony season right now here in London, so it's very fun. It's designed to be a spring shawl, so it's very light. It's knit in Tosh Merino Light, which is a single merino yarn, and this is knit in the colorway Holly Festival, and Holly Festival is a kind of a speckled yarn from Madeline Tosh that's based on the Indian festival where people throw paint at each other. So that's the story behind this colorway, and this one is Button Jar Blue, which is the contrast, and I used 2 unicorn tail mini skeins for the contrast color. You don't have to use the unicorn tails. You can use a full skein and then use the rest for another project or for mini skein swaps or something like that as well, but I kind of designed it to use 2 unicorn tails as the amount. So yeah, it's a fun stripy shawl. It's an asymmetrical shape, and I've put these little bubbles on the stripes, which are really sort of simple little bubbles, very easy to do. You just sort of knit and purl front and back for a few stitches, and then take the stitches you've made over the first one, pop them back over, and that makes the bobble. You could potentially just knit it as stripes and not do the bobbles either, which would be very easy to do if you're not so into texture, which some people aren't, but I think it's quite fun. And then it's finished off with an I-cord bind off. So in the magazine, I used the Holly Festival colorway with Pop Rocks colorway, which is a really hot pink. Let me just find a picture. So that's a picture of the other colorway that I used. So it's really fun. They just do such beautiful photos and styling in this magazine. I really love it. That's kind of like the cover picture for the pattern. really fun. So cute. Yeah, so that was exciting. That's my first pattern that I've had published in a magazine. It was pretty nerve-wracking having a pattern published in print as opposed to a PDF that you can easily fix mistakes and republish, whereas when it's in a magazine it's pretty final. So but yeah, I have amazing tech editors, and it was fine, but I found it quite nerve-wracking to go through that process. And I started it, as I said, last spring, so it was a really long time before you get to see the finished product. So it's very, very exciting to see it come out. So yeah, so other than that, I've been preparing to launch my new collection, which is the Shawl Society, and it's a subscription of 6 shawl designs starting very soon. So I'm super excited to start sharing those designs with you. Been working very hard on them and having lots and lots of fun with the theme. So I'm hoping that I'll see lots of you joining in with that collection. And yeah, so I'll just give you a little bit of a recap of my trip up to Edinburgh for the Yarn Festival. It was back in March, so it's a couple of months ago now. I'm just kind of catching up with doing these videos. I acquired a few lovely things from these various events that I went to recently, and so I thought I would just do a little series of videos to show you rather than try to describe things on the audio podcast. It's so much easier, and it's kind of fun to be able to show you the actual things. So where to start? So when we went up to the festival, I went up straight from the Curious Handmade Country House retreat that I talked a little bit about in the previous video, my first video that I did. And so a few of us, there was 6 of us. There was myself, and then there were 5 guests at the retreat that had come over from the US. So they were really keen to make the most of their trip to the UK and go up to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival as well. There were a couple of other guests that went up, Julie from Suffolk Socks and Linda also went up to the festival, but we didn't stay together. I booked an Airbnb for 6 of us, and it was really fun to sort of continue the retreat a little bit and show international visitors another part of the UK. I absolutely love Scotland and Edinburgh, and this is a really wonderful event. So I was quite, not that it was any of my doing, but I was quite proud to be taking international visitors to it. So yeah, so we ended up staying in this Airbnb that was right across the road from the event of the first night before the festival opened. The organisers had organised a party at a pub, and it was really fun. It was really large. It was more of a bar than a traditional pub. Absolutely full of knitters, all sitting at tables, having a drink and knitting. Met quite a few people there that I knew, so it was fun catching up with friends, knitting friends from all over the place. And we also were met by Louise Scollet, who is the host of the Knit British podcast, and she gave us our badges. She gave us our badges for the next day, and I was there with Paula Emmons-Feasley, who's the host of the Knitting Pipeline podcast, and so we were both given special badges by Louise for the podcast lounge. So we kind of felt like rock stars having these special badges. and it's sponsored by Blacker Yarns, who a wonderful British yarn company that I absolutely love, and they were just releasing their Tamar Luster blend at the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which is a gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous yarn. So yeah, so that was really fun. And so as podcasters, we were given the opportunity to go to the festival a little bit earlier than the main public entrance. It was an hour earlier, and I went to Edinburgh Yarn Festival last year, and the marketplace was super crowded. It's a super, super popular event. And so I said we should definitely take advantage of that, because it'll be so much easier to walk around and see things without the crowds. And so we did that, and Paula and I went a bit earlier. So that was really a great little perk. And we basically went in and we went straight to Eden Cottage stand. Paula was really interested in seeing that yarn. I think she's heard a bit about it, and of course it's absolutely gorgeous. Victoria from Eden Cottage dyes her yarn mainly in the most beautiful, soft, delicate, I guess you'd say, shades. And when you see the stand at a festival, it just looks beautiful, because they're just like this, I don't know, it's just so soft and inviting and pretty, I think. I really like that kind of color palette. And she does these really, really, really fun sweetie jar type displays for festivals. And so I couldn't resist getting one of these little yarnling balls that she calls them, in lots of different colors, because I thought it'd be fun to have on my desk to inspire me while I'm working. It's a little bit distracting, actually. I just kind of want to use it. So whenever it catches my eye, my mind goes off into thinking about what I could make with the little yarnlings. So that's a little bit distracting, but I'm not sure how long it's going to last. I really would like to see all those colors knit up together. I'm kind of contemplating a cozy memories blanket, a sock yarn blanket, but maybe I kind of fancy doing something a little bit different as well. So we'll see. I'll just keep admiring it in the meantime. What else? I picked up a field bag. This is by Fringe Supply Co, who is Karen Templar. She has the Fringe Association blog, fabulous blog, and Pom Pom Quarterly stand had some of these bags, and so I had wanted one of these for quite a while, and I was really pleased to get the black colorway, actually, because I just think this will be really good for traveling. I'm not brilliant at keeping pale things clean, and I think the original color is more of a cream neutral canvas color, and I'd always just looked at them and thought, oh, that would be like, I would have that dirty and, you know, in its first outing. So I was really pleased to have a black one. They're a great size. They're made with canvas fabric, so it's really sturdy. We've got this beautiful natural leather handle, and lots of pockets inside as well. So it's quite chuffed to get one of these bags. So thank you to Lydia and Amy, who were on the Pom Pom Quarterly stand. They had lots of nice things there as well, but that was the one that caught my eye. Then we went to the Podcaster Lounge, and I met lots of people there. It was fun hanging out with podcasters. I saw Louise Scollay there from Knit British that I mentioned before. Joe from the Shiny Bees podcast was there. We had a nice chat. And I also met Claire from New Hampshire Knits podcast, and quite a few others were at the event. I also met lots of lovely listeners, so thank you so much for coming up and saying hi. It was a real treat to meet people in person that you've only ever emailed or, you know, talk to you online. So that was really, really fun. So yeah, we hung out there for a while. We were sitting at a table with Gift Knot Girl, who's a friend of Paula's, and she had the most amazing homemade shortbread there, which was really lovely. So thank you so much for that. And I also met another friend of Paula's, who is Alison, and she is Sticks and Spokes on Ravelry. And she brought some shortbread for me. So thank you so much, Alison. I have it on good authority that this is the best shortbread you can buy. It's Island Bakery shortbread biscuits. So as soon as I've recorded this episode, I'll be having a nice afternoon tea with my shortbread. I haven't broken into them yet, but yeah, they're not going to last much longer. So thank you, Alison. That's so kind of you to bring me a little gift. And so yeah, we had a bit of a there was tables set up, and so we had a nice time sort of sitting down, did a bit of knitting, although not too much. Was mostly busy chatting and chatting to people, and then hanging out at the podcaster lounge. And so we had a lovely time looking at the Blacker yarn. The Blacker had their stand right next to the podcaster lounge. So we looked at all the beautiful colours of Tamar and other bases that they had there. And finally, we decided we would have one last pass of the marketplace. And which proved quite dangerous. One of the stands I went to was Woollen Flour. And Woollen Flour is mostly bags, and she's also doing some natural dyed yarn, Jules, who's the owner of Woollen Flour. And this was one of the stands that I had not seen last year. She was at Edinburgh last year, and I had missed seeing her, and then heard about it later. And I often do this when I go to festivals. I miss people and then hear about them later and really kick myself for missing them. So I was determined not to miss Jules this year. She's originally from Australia, from Melbourne, and is just so friendly and talented, creative person. So it was just a joy to have a little chat with her. You can see beautiful business card there. And I ended up buying 3 pouches, 2 for me. I kind of, at the time, I was like, I could get these for gifts, but I knew in my heart that I wouldn't be giving 2 of them away. This is it just reminded me of a Stuart tartan, one of the Stuart tartans. I think there's quite a few different ones. But this reminded me, because my name was Stuart, is Stuart. When I was a kid, I was kind of encouraged to do Highland dancing at school. It was like a club, the after school club, so it wasn't just me because I had a Scottish name. But yeah, so I did Scottish dancing, and I had a kilt in quite similar tartan to this. So I kind of like a nostalgic kind of thing. I had to have this one. And Jules seems to have a story behind all her different fabrics and pouches. And she was saying that she thinks that this one is actually an offcut from a Vivienne Westwood collection. So that made me want it even more. So it was very cute. And I love a good story like that. And it could well be true, because Vivienne Westwood does use the Harris tweed in her collection. So a Glamorous knitting pouch there. This one was too beautiful to pass up. Look at those colors. Isn't that just beautiful? Sorry, my hair's going a bit crazy. Yeah, so just really love this one. And I also bought one for Paula as a gift for memories of a trip to Scotland and the Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So it was a tartan, another tartan pouch. So I bought 3 in the end. But they're so beautiful. And then we also, Paula and I, when we went back into the marketplace, I'd been past this particular stand the first time and it had caught my eye, but I was trying to be good and not buy too much yarn. But it proved that my resistance was completely weakened over the course of the day with all the yarn fumes. And so when we went back past this stand, that it was kind of like one of those moments where there just happened to be no one else there. So we had like lots of time to have a look, which was very dangerous. So the yarn is Snail Yarn. And the dyer is, her name is Valentina, and she's based outside Rome. So this is the first Italian indie dyer I've really seen. So she brought her yarn over to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and yeah, in the end I just had was pulling all these colorways off her shelves and like trying to decide. I could have bought about 10 different ones. In the end I narrowed it down to 4. So this is a one-of-a-kind colorway. Love these colors. This is so beautiful. It says a merino sock, so it's 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. So I think I will probably make socks with this. And then these other ones, this is called Hidden. I just think that's so pretty and romantic. And this one is Crimson Queen. That's a bit more dramatic. Pretty red and quite a lot of green. I don't normally go for green, but both of these have quite a lot of green in them. Funny, hey? Sometimes I don't really notice what the more subtle tones of a variegated yarn are. I just get attracted to one of the colors, and then later when I'm knitting it up, I'm like, actually this is not what I thought it was in my mind. But it's all part of the fun of knitting with variegated yarn, I think. And then this one is called Mist, and it's also quite greeny. Maybe it's just the light today, I don't know, but I think this is quite true to colour what you're seeing in the screen. It's kind of got tiny little speckles of pink, dark pink in there. So I thought maybe this would be a nice stripe with, I think I was thinking with this one, or either of those, I think it would. I was thinking a fun stripy shawl with those. So thank you so much, Valentina, for those gorgeous yarns. Really beautiful. So I was doing quite well with limiting stash intake until that point. Never mind. They're gorgeous. I'm never going to regret that purchase. So then we wrapped up with the Kaley that evening, which was super fun event. It was like the dinner for the festival, and we had managed to get meal tickets to have the meal, which sold out pretty quickly. And there was a vegetarian choice, and the non-vegetarian choice was haggis, which I had. And I can't remember having haggis before, which I was kind of like, how can that be right? But I found it really delicious. Some other people at the table didn't like it, but I did find it was really good. And there was a couple of Scottish people sitting at our table as well, and they said it was a good haggis. So I really enjoyed that. And then we had a lot of dancing. Most of the evening was dancing. They had a really fabulous Kaley band, and I even got up and did a few dances, which I wouldn't normally. Normally feel a bit silly doing dances like that, but it was really fun. No one knew what they were doing, and they call out the steps and kind of take you through it once. So everyone's just kind of going in the wrong direction and having lots of fun. So it was really good. And so I just went for the one day of the event. I didn't go back on the second day because I'd already been away from my family for a few days with the retreat beforehand. But yeah, it was just had such a nice time. It's always really nice hanging out with knitters, and yeah, it was a really good trip. So that was that. So I guess now I'd just quickly show you the project that I was talking about last time I recorded. I've made a bit of progress. I'm working on the Angelus Novus cardi. There is a shawl, Angelus Novus shawl, but I'm working on the cardigan, and it's a design by Renee Callahan, East London Knit. Renee's a friend of mine, and ever since she brought out this collection last year, I've wanted to knit the cardigan. And I've made quite a bit of progress over the weekend. I finished a design piece last week and then just fancied doing some relaxing knitting over the weekend. And I'm knitting it on 5mm needle, so it's going pretty fast. And the back is kind of knit. I think I might be holding it upside down. I'm not quite sure where the construction's going from here, but it's basically like knitting a shawl to start with, which is in my comfort zone, so that's fun. And this yarn is Whole & Sons wool, which is created by Benjamin Hole in the Isle of Purbeck in Dorset, and the yarn is Dorset pole yarn, wool, pure wool. So pole Dorset wool. What did I just say? Anyway, it's a single flock yarn. And I talked to Benjamin on the podcast last year as well. If you want to listen to that episode, it's a really interesting episode about this yarn. And I'm not sure what's happening with the production of it. It hasn't released any for a while, but I think since last summer. But in the Isle of Purbeck, there's another whole family farm, and another yarn line from the same breed of sheep, which is called Isle Yarns. And so if you're wanting to try out this particular breed of sheep breed of yarn, maybe I would suggest searching for Isle Yarns, because it's the same sheep. So it has a very similar hand to it. I last year designed a shawl in this yarn. I just thought I'd show you how it knits up, because it's really interesting, this particular breed. It's pure wool, and this is the Whispering Island shawl. I was really inspired by this yarn when I bought some last year, and I just wanted to show you how elastic it is. It's really amazing. I talked about this on the podcast at the time, but it's just got this most stretchy quality to it. It's incredible. It's just really, really, really bouncy. And it's so light. I don't know if you can sort of see how light that looks, but it's just so light. So I think that's going to be just such a lovely garment. So I'm really excited about this, about finishing this cardigan. And we're having a knit along at the moment on the Curious Handmade group, and so you can join in the knit along, knitting any of Renee's designs, and she has a discount on her patterns, which is East London Knit Cal, and also Blacker Yarn have a discount on their DK weight yarn, using the code KLEEKAL, which is KLEEKAL, because the original sample of the Angelus Novus cardi is knit in Swan, Falkland Island yarn from Blacker. So they're supporting the knit along that Renee and I are hosting at the moment. Lots of people are knitting the Angelus Novus, so it's really, really motivating for me to see people just a bit ahead. And you know, they're saying how easy it is, and it's flying off the needles, and you know, all this good stuff. So it's really encouraging me to knit it. I actually am hoping to be able to finish it by the time I leave for Squam, which is coming up really soon. So it's very exciting. I am hoping I can do it. If I just sort of do an hour a day, perhaps, I think I might get there. So stay posted, stay tuned on that little project. I think that's all I have for you this week. I want to try and keep these episodes to about half an hour. I think that's a good length. It's a good length for me, and people tell me that it's a good length to watch as well. You can just have a nice little break to watch a little bit of a video. So thanks for listening. Come and join us for the clay cal, and also kicking off very soon is the Shawl Society. So I hope you enjoy that, have fun and join in. Happy knitting. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.